The frequency of silence. The radio played her voice at 3:33 a.m., but Clara had been dead for 17 days, and the station had gone off air in 1998. Ethan jolted upright in the driver's seat, spine rigid, breath trapped in his chest. Rain hammered the roof of his pickup like gravel flung by invisible hands. The wipers dragged across the windshield in slow, exhausted arcs, smearing the blackness beyond into greasy streaks. The dashboard clock blinked 3:33 in dull red. Outside, the road dissolved into nothing. No guardrails, no signs, just the suffocating press of pine forest on both sides, branches scraping the cab like dry fingers. He'd pulled over because his hands wouldn't stop trembling, because the silence inside the truck had grown thick enough to choke on. Now, the radio, its battery dead for months, crackled to life. Double quotes, ... still waiting. Ethan, you said you'd come back. Her voice clear, intimate, not a recording warped by time, not static mimicking speech. The exact lilt she used when disappointed, when hurt. He yanked the power cord from beneath the dash. The radio kept playing. You left the door open. He slammed his palm against the off button. Nothing. The voice softened, almost tender. I'm cold. Ethan turned the key. The engine roared to life. He stomped the gas, tires spitting mud and gravel as he fishtailed back onto the slick asphalt. He hadn't meant to stop here, hadn't meant to drive this road at all. But the debt collectors called twice a day. The bank froze his account, and the only person who ever lent him money without asking why was buried in the cemetery 3 miles past Black Pines Junction. Clara, his older sister, the one who raised him after their parents burned in the house fire when he was 6. The one who paid his rehab bills after the overdose. The one who whispered, "Just come see me before I go." And he said he wouldn't, never did, because he'd been ashamed, because he'd relapsed the week before she died, because he couldn't face the pity in her eyes. Now the road stretched like a throat closing. Trees leaned inward, branches clawing at the roof. The radio hissed, then silence, not peaceful, not empty, a silence that listened. Ethan checked the rearview mirror. Darkness behind. But the cab? The cab felt crowded, warm, like someone sat in the passenger seat, breathing slowly, evenly, just out of sync with his own ragged inhales. He didn't look. His knuckles whitened on the wheel. The heater was off, yet the back of his neck prickled with warmth like breath. A soft tap on the window. He flinched, swerved hard. Nothing outside, just rain, just trees. But the passenger window was fogged from the inside. He rolled it down. Cold air rushed in, sharp with pine and wet earth. The fog vanished for 3 seconds. Then it returned, slowly forming letters in the condensation. UPROMISD. Ethan's breath hitched. He wiped it with his sleeve. The glass stayed clear. Then the words reappeared, sharper, deeper. He twisted the radio dial wildly. All stations, silent except one. A low hum. Then Clara's voice, closer now, as if leaning over the seat. I heard you crying last Tuesday. In the bathroom. You thought no one knew. He hadn't told anyone. Had locked the door, pressed his face into a towel so the neighbors wouldn't hear. How? He whispered, voice cracking. The radio answered, calm, certain. The dead listen when the living lie. The headlights flickered. For a heartbeat. The road vanished. When light returned, a figure stood in the middle of the lane barefoot, wearing a thin hospital gown, hair plastered to her skull, skin gray in the rain. Ethan slammed the brakes. Tires screamed. The truck skidded sideways, mud sprang, and lurched to a stop in the shoulder. He panted, hands trembling on the wheel. Looked up. The road was empty. But the passenger door stood open. Rain soaked the seat, footprints small, bare led from the door into the woods. He didn't follow. He couldn't move. The radio played softly now. Lullaby Clara used to sing when he had nightmares after the fire. Hush now, baby, don't you cry, ... He reached for the ignition, turned it nothing. Battery dead. He tried again. Click. Click. Silence. The lullaby continued, gentle, relentless. He grabbed his phone. No signal. Battery 7%. He opened the flashlight, swept it across the cab. On the passenger seat, a folded hospital bracelet. His name wasn't on it. Hers was. Clara M. Reyes Andob. 4 de diciembre de 1979. DOD. The 7th of October, 2025. He hadn't touched her body, hadn't seen the bracelet. The funeral was closed. Casket. He dropped it like it burned. The lullaby stopped. Silence. Then a whisper from the back seat. Wet and close. Why didn't you come? He spun. Empty. But the seat was damp and warm to the touch. He threw the door open, stumbled into the rain. Mud sucked at his boots. He ran to the front of the truck, leaned against the cold hood, gasping. The forest was utterly still. No wind, no crickets, no owls, just the drum of rain on metal. Then dash a sound from the trees. Not footsteps, a dragging. Slow, wet, like a body pulled through mud. He backed toward the cab, tripped over a route, fell hard. Mud seeped through his jeans, cold, real. The dragging stopped. He looked up at the tree line. A shape stood tall, thin, head tilted at an unnatural angle. Not Clara, not human. Its arms hung too low, fingers brushing the ground. Its breath made no mist in the freezing air. Ethan scrambled to his feet, ran for the driver's side. Locked. He pounded on the window. Open, please. The radio crackled. You don't get to run anymore. The passenger door clicked open. Invitation. He stared at it. Rain soaked his hair, his shirt, his teeth. Chattered. Inside. The cab was dry, warm. The lullaby played softly. He stepped in, closed the door. The radio fell silent. The engine turned over on the first try. Headlights flared. The road ahead was clear. He drove, didn't look back, didn't check the mirror, but in the passenger seat. The hospital bracelet lay neatly folded, and the seatbelt unbuckled slowly clicked into place by itself. Miles passed. The rain eased. The pines thinned. He reached the county line. Streetlights returned. Houses. A gas station. Normalcy. He pulled into the lot, parked under a buzzing fluorescent pole. Turned off the engine. Silence. He exhaled. Wiped his face. Alive. Then the radio hissed. He froze. It shouldn't work. He'd disconnected it hours ago. Yet Clara's voice filled the cab. Calm. Final. You're not leaving me again. He looked at the ignition. The keys were gone. He checked his pockets. Empty. On the dashboard. The keys lay coiled, like a snake. He reached for them. His hand passed through. He tried again. Same. He looked down. His fingers were translucent, faint, like smoke in moonlight. He touched his face. Felt nothing in the rearview mirror. The seat behind him was empty, but the passenger seat now held a man in a soaked jacket, eyes wide with terror, mouth open in a silent scream. Ethan, and beside him, Clara smiled, her hand resting gently on his knee. The radio played the lullaby once more. Outside, the night held its breath, and the truck's headlights stayed on, pointed back toward the pines. He didn't fight it. He turned the key, though his fingers didn't turn. It tanned the engine, rumbled to life. The truck rolled forward, away from the gas station, away from town, back onto the black road. Rain began again. The wipers dragged, the radio hummed, and in the hollow hours, between midnight and dawn, the dead don't wait, they drive.